Well, November is National Diabetes Awareness Month. Coincidentally, it's also Thanksgiving, which is like the Super Bowl of eating. And it brings us into the holidays, Christmas, etc., all the parties and whatnot. It's kind of like a big eating extravaganza. And if you've got diabetes, and frankly, even if you don't have diabetes, how do you get through this? How do you navigate this whole eating season? Well, stay tuned because today that's exactly what we're going to talk about. Stay tuned. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Scan FYI. So I have the perfect guest for this conversation today, and we're going to meet Jennifer Klein from the LiveWell Center. So good morning, Jennifer.
Good morning. Glad to be here today.
Well, why don't you give a better intro, tell the folks about you and, what you're doing at the LiveWell Center.
Sure, definitely. So I'm Jennifer Klein. I am a registered dietitian. I work for Monmouth Medical Center at the LiveWell Center. So the LiveWell Center is a somewhat new, we just opened in May, location that our Monmouth Medical Center Community Health Department is part of. So we are, myself and my teammates here at the LiveWell Center, offer free health and nutrition programming for our community. So, here in Eatontown where we're located, but then beyond as well to all of Monmouth County, even down to Ocean County. And we can really expand our reach with the LiveWell Center because we are able to do a lot of hybrid programs. As you know, throughout the pandemic, that's become kind of a need. So
Yep.
we have been able to really expand our reach. And so in our center here, we have some great education spaces where we hold different lectures and support groups and different physician panels and things like that. And kind of the heart of our LiveWell Center is our demonstration kitchen, which is partly what I oversee. It's overseeing the nutrition education program. So in our demonstration kitchen, I teach cooking classes for all ages. So we have hands-on cooking classes for kids. We have cooking classes for adults, everything in between, and really just trying to help people put healthy eating into practice. So not just telling people, okay, you should eat your fruits and vegetables, but showing them, with recipes, how we can put things together and make them taste good, and really get people excited about healthy eating. And our kitchen is also equipped with these great cameras that allow
Yeah.
us to have this kind of food network kind of style going on for people in person and then also at home as well. As I mentioned, we can do hybrid programs as well. So people, if they can't come in, we can send them a
Mhm.
link and they can join us virtually.
So it's almost like Jen is the next Food Network star, but at the LiveWell Center.
At the LiveWell Center,
You know
yes.
what? We'll put a link down below so that you can see if you want to go to the LiveWell Center, because honestly, it's worth going there just to check out the kitchen. Really
Yes.
awesome. But speaking of the kitchen, all right, Jen, it is, a big shout out the fact that it is National Diabetes Awareness Month. And of course, diabetes is rampant in New Jersey and everywhere else in the country. And, the thing is, there's so many people who are probably pre-diabetic. They don't even know yet that they have diabetes. And a lot of this has to do with what we eat.
Mhm.
So here we are. I don't know. It's a funny thing thinking, wow, this is the same month of Thanksgiving that is diabetes awareness. But all right, this is a big food holiday. Like I said, this I feel like is the Super Bowl of eating, but it doesn't have to just ruin your life. So
Right.
what we want to talk about is, so how do we get through this? It's not only Thanksgiving, it's all the holiday parties. And as I said, it's not just because whether you have diabetes or you don't. Honestly, I feel like, Jen, we're all facing that same issue. How do we get through this without just ruining everything?
Right, right. Yeah, it definitely is a big topic. I've always thought it was funny too that National Diabetes Education Month is November, and that's kind of, I always feel like Thanksgiving's
What
kind of
were they
like
thinking?
kickoff. Yeah, and like Thanksgiving's just like the kickoff to the holidays, and so, or maybe it's to help people get focused before the holidays and kind of get their game plan on. So it is definitely something that every year I feel like I talk to folks about, because it can be stressful. And like you said, whether someone is diabetic or they have other health issues that they're trying to manage, or really just trying to stay healthy and maintain a healthy weight, the holidays can be very stressful because it is so food focused. So definitely I have some tips that I usually share with people for those holidays. So remembering, number one, and what I really try to drive home with people was just to really be mindful. So being mindful on the Thanksgiving day or whatever holiday it is, but then also throughout that whole holiday season. So for some of us, the holiday season is very stressful, and we're, or maybe sometimes like that fun stress too, but we're maybe running around, we're like shopping, we're getting a lot of things done, going to different parties and things.
Well, that's like the fun. That's the fun stress.
Exactly. But yeah.
There's a lot of family dynamics and craziness, yes, unfortunately, that does come into play.
Yes.
So you have definitely the good and the angel and the devil sitting on your shoulders.
Yes. Yes. We have that like excitement, but then we also can get stressed about certain things. And, food is going to be the center of a lot of those celebrations. So we'll kind of focus in on Thanksgiving, but throughout that whole holiday season, I always try to remind people, like, just try to be mindful about what we're doing. Like when we're stressed, when we're, running from store to store, really thinking about our food choices, thinking about our regular meals and balanced meals and things like that. And so when it comes to the day of a holiday, really kind of, again, being mindful. I'm not usually one to tell people, to say no to certain foods that we love. I think that especially for something like Thanksgiving, for a lot of us, it's that one time of year that we get to enjoy, like turkey and stuffing and cranberry sauce and these things that we don't maybe make for ourselves all the time. So instead of being fearful of them or feel that we need to avoid them, go into that meal kind of mindfully. And by that, I mean, number one, take a look at all the choices that are out in front of you. So whether, you have a buffet style or there's food out on the table, kind of take a moment before you pick up your plate and start serving yourself to kind of scan the table and see, what are the things that I really am looking forward to? What do I really want on my plate? There may be things that you really only get once a year, and there may be things that you can have really any time. So for those, so for those things, like stuffing is always the one that kind of sticks out. I feel like that's like everyone's like has a family member that makes like their world famous stuffing. So, that might be something that we only get every once in a while. That might be a little bit more carbohydrate rich. Whereas, a potato, we can probably get, more often. So maybe that's a trade-off that you want to have, or maybe you really want both of those. So that's fine to put them both on your plate, but maybe taking smaller, portions to start. So that's another thing with being mindful on those holiday days. We tend to fill up our plate with a lot of fill up our plate, maybe more so than we would on our normal dinner day, or for a normal dinner. So I always recommend just start with a portion that you would typically serve yourself with the foods that you like, and then just kind of start there. You can enjoy that portion, and then, reassess later on and see if you're hungry. You can always fill up with more. You fill up your plate again. But if you start with that smaller portion, we sometimes eat with our eyes. So sometimes if we see a big portion, we feel like we need to eat that whole thing on our plate. So if we start with a little bit smaller, still, choosing the things that you like, eat that nice and slowly, really enjoy it. Remember that it does take about 15 to 20 minutes for your brain to signal that you're full. So once you've finished that plate, kind of check in with yourself. Am I still hungry? If I am still hungry or still kind of want a little something, what is it that I really want seconds of? Or, thinking maybe ahead a little bit more, do I want anything here, or do I want to save a little room for dessert later instead? And so kind of just being mindful with that, but really enjoying the meal and trying not to get stressed over all the choices.
The thing too is that while you're eating, hopefully you're around a table with lots of other people. So part of, you're being mindful about what you're eating, but maybe you're even in a good way distracted, Jen, because there's people you might not see very often. There's lots of conversation. So hopefully you're eating slowly and savoring all these goodies that you maybe only have once a year. And why and so it takes 15 minutes, so hopefully you're eating slowly enough because you're speaking to other people, and you can sort of stop and say, oh, maybe I am full. I don't really need that extra whole plate full.
Mm-hmm.
You take your time.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I notice it too, that it's as if it's a race, that
Yes.
you've got to just pack it all on in your plate in one shot, not even thinking, well, you know what? I'll get more if I want it.
Exactly. Yeah. You can always go get more. And I think sometimes
Yeah.
too, yeah. I think one thing that people do sometimes, and is another thing, that I usually help kind of coach people on, is trying not to like skip meals throughout the day to make room for that big meal. So I think sometimes we get so hungry for that meal and we look forward to it so much that's where that like fast eating kind of comes
Oh,
into play.
because we
Like
haven't eaten a thing all day. You mean,
right,
right? Well,
right.
yeah, and that's not
I
not
recommend it. Yeah.
no. Nobody's going to advise you of that. And
Yeah.
as far as desserts, I know that people say, for us, because we do our diabetes self-management classes, oh my God, the desserts, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I can't eat this, I can't eat that. But I like to, if you approach everything like, I can't do this, I can't do that, can't you focus? Why not focus on everything you can do? Because there's lots of things you can do. And isn't it, this deprivation mode that never works, right? Never.
Right. Yeah.
Like I won't eat all day and then I'll eat like a maniac. No,
Mm-hmm.
that's not good. But so if you really want that great piece of apple pie, I'd rather see somebody have a slice of it and enjoy it and not go crazy and beat yourself up because you ate it. That's the other thing.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. We don't want to go home feeling guilty after this nice holiday that we had with our families. And we shouldn't. There's no
No.
reason to feel guilty about, eating the foods that we enjoy and the foods that are there as part of our celebration. So I totally agree with you. I think that, having the dessert and giving yourself permission to enjoy the dessert is such a great
Right.
and powerful thing, because when we go into a situation like that and we say like, oh, I shouldn't have that, then we feel bad about it, and that can stress us out, which can raise our blood sugars, and it's kind of like that vicious cycle. And typically when we are feeling deprived, that's when, if we're feeling like I can't have that, you want it even more, and then it makes it hard when you do have it, to eat it slowly and be mindful. So definitely, again, I would say, kind of, we do want to look at the amount of carbohydrates we're having, keeping an eye on blood sugars, and being in touch with how we're feeling as well. So feeling, drops in blood sugars and things like that. But having, a slice of pie is going to be totally fine. If you feel like there's a couple different things on the dessert table that you want to indulge in, maybe taking smaller pieces,
Right.
splitting a piece of pie with somebody so that you can have the piece of pie and the cookie or whatever it is. And then I think that most often the hosts at holidays are happy to send people home with leftovers. So if there's something on the plate that you feel like, I kind of want that, but I'd like the apple pie more, maybe just ask, could I please take a piece of that home, for the next day? So remember, it's not like the last time of the year that you're ever going to be able to have pie. You can take home a little bit and have some, throughout the week if you'd like to.
I always feel too that a lot of people who are hosting a big meal, and I'll say myself too, I'm very conscious that there's so many people out there that are watching this or watching that. And so I believe that many people will always have maybe fruit or some salad options, things on the table, because they are being mindful and considerate that certain guests have to be maybe more careful than others. So another idea, though, if you're invited to Thanksgiving or any holiday and you're thinking, oh God, there's going to be all this sugar, I'm not going to be able to eat the dessert. Why don't you bring something and bring something that's inclusive, and that it'll be there for you. Maybe it's fruit or whatever it is, but then, you never have to feel like, oh, there's nothing for me here, but there is, because you brought it.
Right. And I think people appreciate that too. I think that we do kind of have our mind a lot of times on the sweets and the pies and things like that. But if we bring some strawberries,
right,
most people are probably going to be like, ooh, strawberries, and take those on their plate too. So I think that's a great, that, goes for the main meal too. If you feel like, in the past, the meals haven't had a lot of vegetables, you want to offer to bring a vegetable. Usually hosts will say, sure, bring a vegetable, or bring, the fruit, whatever it is, to make you feel a little more comfortable and make you feel like you have something there that you can, enjoy. And then of course, share with the family and the friends as well.
I think I cannot imagine anyone saying, oh no, don't bring anything. I want to do all the work myself.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
But Thanksgiving, Jen, it's one day. So maybe you did have a bad day. You get somewhat derailed on that day. So what happens the next day?
Just go back to your normal day. You don't have to fix anything or feel like you have to deprive yourself the next day. You just go back to normal, and your normal balanced breakfast, lunch, and dinner, back to hopefully normal exercise activities and things like that. And everything should balance out. Typically one meal, to your point, doesn't undo all the good that we've done all year. So, if we have a little bit too much, blood sugars maybe go up a little bit, just getting back to our regular routine and our regular schedule can get us back to where we normally are.
Well, you know what I almost said, bad expression here. I was going to say, well, see, you can have your cake and eat it, but that's a bad way to put it. That's a bad way to say it. But one day of overindulgence and, going off your absolute schedule, it's okay. We're humans, right? And I see so many times people just really beating themselves up. Don't do that. Enjoy the holiday, but and this is the way it is. It is very food centered, and Thanksgiving and a lot. I know for some people they wind up with 2 Thanksgivings, the day of, and then maybe on the weekend there's a Friendsgiving, or you have to see 2 different families. Everyone wants to feed you, so I guess you kind of have to pace yourself. But the hardest thing I know for many people is, that word, moderation. It's a tough one, right?
It is. Yeah. Moderation. I think the idea of moderation can be intimidating, because it's like, well, what is, moderation?
What do you mean by that?
Yeah. Especially when there is a lot going on. So if we say, like, oh, well, if I have that extra piece of pie at Thanksgiving, but then to your point, okay, well, now I have like 3 Thanksgiving celebrations. So is that moderation if I'm having, cake or pie at every one of those events? So moderation can be difficult, but I think the main thing to keep in mind is that your everyday is staying pretty much the same. So you're going to have those celebrations. I know, again, kind of between Thanksgiving and the new year, there's a lot going on. There's different food centered celebrations happening. So on those days where you're not at gatherings or at parties, just trying to keep things pretty much normal, trying to eat a nice healthy diet, balancing our carbohydrates and our proteins at each meal and snack, and then seeing if we can get some exercise in between. Sure. Exercise really does help to lower the blood sugars, and to also help to reduce stress. So again, going back to the beginning when we were talking about that holiday stress and things that can come up with that busy holiday season. Scheduling in some exercise helps to keep our blood sugar steady, helps to lower our stress levels. And just helps to kind of keep us on track a little bit as well. So that when we do have those days that we may, indulge a little bit more than we typically do, it shouldn't make or break our healthy diet.
Totally agree with that. And for, for the sake of your own mental health, really be kind to yourself. You're a human, and it's Thanksgiving. It's one day. And again, I know that it's only the kickoff for all the other days, but be mindful, choose wisely, and don't ever feel like, I'll never eat this again. I can't do. Approach it from a positive standpoint. There are so many good choices on the table. Well, enjoy those,
Yes.
And of course, taking home some leftovers. Hey, you don't have to eat it all at one sitting.
Exactly.
Take them home.
Yeah.
Definitely take them home. And if you're going to be the host of the holiday, equally stressful, but try and do your very best to put some things on the table that everyone is going to enjoy, like loading up on veggies, right? And maybe as part of an appetizer, having some crudité and some things that, lots of fruits and things that everyone can enjoy. I never like somebody to be singled out, Jen, like, oh, I prepared this one just for you because you have diabetes or you have, I think that's just awful.
Yeah, it is. It makes it tough on that person for feeling like, oh, I'm the only one that really has to eat my vegetables,
And
or
now
I'm the
everyone
only
is
one.
watching you. Everyone is
Right.
watching what you're eating.
Right. And it is nice to have, I mean, coming from a nutrition standpoint, we should all be eating, more fruits and vegetables, not just those that are diabetic or those that, have other chronic diseases that might be trying to control. So, having some vegetables available, having some fruits available, having these healthy things, just benefits everyone. And there's so many delicious ways to prepare our vegetables too, that I think sometimes they're overlooked, but some of my most favorite side dishes at Thanksgiving are the vegetables, roasted Brussels sprouts and carrots and the mashed turnips and things like that. They're so good, and we really can prepare them in nice, healthy, delicious ways. So I think it's a great complement to the table overall as well.
Absolutely. So I think the bottom line here is enjoy Thanksgiving, be mindful, really think of, and when we say that, we're really saying, think about what you're doing. Maybe take a beat of 10 seconds before and I like what Jen said about scanning the table. Just don't dive in, make good choices, but above all, feel good about yourself and enjoy the holiday, right?
Yes, absolutely. Number one goal of the holidays is to enjoy it, and to enjoy the festivities with your friends and family.
You're worth it. You're always worth it. Every one of us. Enjoy the holidays. So my guest today has been Jennifer Klein from the LiveWell Center in Eatontown. We'll put some links to that so you know more about it. And Jen, thank you so much for being with me today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's really great.
All right. Well, remember, everyone out there, first of all, happy holidays coming up. It's a little early for Thanksgiving, but we're getting a head start on wishing you happy holidays. And if it's important to you, it's important to us. I'm Andrea Tarr, and we'll see you next time on Scan FYI. Bye, everyone. Bye, Jen.
Bye.